So tell me though, how, when you're teachers, when you become teachers yourself, what will you say to students about what the present can learn from the past? What's the significance of the present for the past? Ms. Min, do you want to say?
I do believe history has its own spirits. Yeah. And history is just like a construction site. And they shape us, everyone. Though sometimes we ignore it. I do admit that the influence of political sometimes is very powerful and great. It can let us ignore some facts, but cultural DNA is just in our everyone's blood.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree. But what do we learn? I understand that we're shaped by the past.
I totally agree with the opinion you said before, that it tells us a diversity. Different civilization has its own way to grow, and sometimes that not means the winner in the history is the better one. Sometimes the loser has its own value that we historians should pay attention to.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that very much. Anyone else? Guys? What do you think?
I think the most important lesson I learned from these manuscripts is if we want to really understand why people behave like that in the past or why people behave like that in other cultures, we must first know about their culture. It is the first step and the most important step to understand their behaviors.
So you're an intellectual historian in some ways,
yeah.
right? But
so
because we believe in
I
that.
think and the way people live today should not be arrogant to people in the past or people in less developed countries or something like this.
So there's a famous book called "The Past is a Foreign Country," that we tend to look at the past and see it as being different from ourselves, just as foreign to us as it is, as a foreign country would be. And my colleagues who teach medieval European history, they think medieval European history for American students is just as mysterious as Chinese history. Right? It's a different world. And sometimes our worlds change.
In my opinion, many people don't care about the past, the history, and they don't care what had done in other countries and in our own history. And I think history didn't teach you how to make a living, and didn't teach you maybe how to live everyday life. But I think everyone can meet and have some problems in our daily lives, such as emotional and such as some thought ideas you couldn't understand or you couldn't resolve. I think sometimes you could use the history knowledge or interesting history stories to tell you and to help you to make through such problems. And but for us, this professional researcher, we should learn more about that, and so we can teach them and we can tell them how this and what it could be like. Mm-hmm. I think we shouldn't put so much attention on this. For example, it's educational or it's some big deal. I don't think it's so important that everyone should learn and everyone should know about your past or your country's past. I just think if every time you sit and after a day's work you could read some history stories or learn some knowledge, I think it's enough. And I think it's good both for the individual people and for our society.
So this reminding of the论语, where it has this 古之学者为己，今之学者为人, right? That history is sort of a 为己之学, right? And we want to make it sort of 为人之学 as well. We want it to be good for other people too. But in the end, it's sort of useless, except for thinking, right? It's for our minds. It's not good. And sometimes it gets us jobs, however, because we still have it in schools, right? 林伟成?
I I should cite Shakespeare's quotes. China is a big stage. Men and women are the players. They just come in and go out, and things just happen in that way. That's all.
So, but do we learn anything from that?
You can learn something, but
What?
not all things.
No, you can't learn all things, but what can you learn? Give me one example of something you can learn.
If someone can think he can learn all things from history, he just play the game with his mind.
I agree. But can you learn anything from history?
I feel the temptation of it.
You feel the temptation of it. Okay. Oh, you're a hard person to pin down. You're a hard person to pin down. You guys, what do you think?
I think the history is the memory of the human beings, and so some people like us had duties to remember this for the human.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think
Yeah.
that's right. Somebody has to be responsible for memory in our cultures, because if we don't do it, we know other people won't, right?
Yeah.
And we have to persuade them that it's worth remembering. So that brings us to stories, right? Having a story to tell is sometimes a way that we can give them something to remember. What do you guys think? Joe, do you want to say that?
我觉得历史的界限作用到其实真是次要的。我记得余英时就曾经说过，就说历史学家对政治有一个遥远的关怀嘛。其实我挺同意那个同学说法，其实历史就是一个记忆的东西。我最近在做一个实习，就帮助上海的一个民主党派是民盟，帮他们修地方志，然后他们请了很多的那个老盟员过来，他们很激动，他们说我们要把这些东西留下去，我们不说后面人就不知道了，我们要负责。他们真的是你会感觉到他们很激动那种。真实，我想历史它最原初的意义还是一种传承。
对。So what I was interested in a number of years ago in local history, in Difangshi. And so I took a lot of students to Zhejiang, to Jinhua, and we went into the old villages in Wuyi, Yongkang, Lanxi, Jinhuaxian, and these other places, Yiwu. And I remember people tearing down these beautiful old houses. And I said, but this is so beautiful, because in America, if an old house like that, wow, it'd be very precious, and you'd want to preserve it. Many people would want to preserve it, at least. And they said, yes, 我们有进步, right? We have to advance. We have to progress. And so to try to talk about how the past, a memory of the past, is not an enemy of progress, right? That you can think in terms of progress and of newness without having to give up a memory of the past as something that has real value and lasting value. But what is its value? What is its value?